Hi, this is Ted Leslie with Let Out the Clutch. This is a show sponsored by MyBikerAttorney, and the goal here is to promote motorcycling in Oklahoma. In doing so, I want to interview many people throughout Oklahoma that have interesting stories or have some interest in motorcycles. And today, my guest is Scott Conway. Scott, say hello.
Hello.
This is Scott from Oklahoma City Indian Motorcycles.
Thanks for having me, Ted. I'm Scott Conway. I'm the president of Indian Motorcycles of Oklahoma City. It's a business that we started about 10 years ago and have been having a lot of fun at it. So
It is corporate business or franchise, or how does it work?
it's a family business. You know, I have all four of my children working in the store. They really run the business. I just talk to people about motorcycles. So I didn't want to spend all my time in an office looking at spreadsheets and setting policies. I just want to make sure customers are handled properly.
Approved and finance or whatever you had to do?
It was a little bit of a process. I made the application shortly after I saw the ad, which I got approved as a dealer, subject to finding a facility. I spent a few months looking for a facility, found a really cool old 100-year-old brick building in downtown Oklahoma City that I thought would be perfect for the Indian brand. So they approved that, and then it took a few months for us to get the facility renovated.
Well, the building is stunning, but let's back up a little bit. So where were you living when you saw the ad?
I was living here in Oklahoma City working for General Motors as a fleet account executive. So I contacted a lot of the big companies around here and convinced them to buy GM products.
So you're already in Oklahoma when this
I
happened.
was in Oklahoma when that happened. I actually considered Wisconsin and Oklahoma, but because that's where I'm from. But you sell bikes and ride bikes 12 months out of the year here. You don't do that in Wisconsin. So decided to stay here, love Oklahoma.
So is there a transition from being a motorcycle rider to owning a dealership? Because now you're working when you want to be riding.
Yeah, that's actually a really good point. I think I might have rode more before I was a motorcycle dealer. Now it seems like my rides are, I'm going on vacation and 2,000, 3,000 miles later I'm coming home, where in the past I'd go out just about every weekend. So it's different when you're there and operating your own small business.
Your shop's on 10th Street.
7 Northeast 10th Street, right downtown Oklahoma City. It's in an area they call Automobile Alley. And, they've done a really good job of keeping some of the historic nature of that area. The Packard building, the Hudson building, the Pontiac Buick, all those old car dealerships that were down there. Now there's an Indian Motorcycle building, which used to be a Mack truck dealership back in the 20s and 30s.
Well, the exterior and the interior are just fantastic as far as a rustic feel. But
Right.
Also, it's got the modern floors and the lighting and all that kind of thing as well.
Right.
Do you find limitations as far as space goes, or is that going well, or how does that work?
100-year-old buildings have their challenges. Being downtown, we have limited parking, but we do have parking in the rear. We're working on getting some parking just to the east, but with all that said, we've made it work and work very well. So it's, there's always some windows and leaks and things that come up, but it adds to the charm.
Now, as far as the operation of your business goes, you do something very unique in that you have family in your business, do you not?
I do. Actually, all four of my children work in the business. They actually run the business more than I do. When I set this up, I didn't want to be a motorcycle dealer that sits in an office and looks at spreadsheets and writes policy. I really just wanted to talk to people about motorcycles, and that's what I do. So I don't have an office. My kids, there's plenty of office requirements running a dealership, and they do a very good job of doing that. I just sell bikes.
How does that work around the dinner table or Thanksgiving or Christmas? Is there any tension between running a business with your family versus employees that you can go home and not have to deal with them again?
That's actually a good point. I've heard for my whole life that it's not a good idea to go into business with your family, but I've been very blessed. They seem to be enjoying it a lot. They're doing it, and I'm doing it, for something to leave for the kids to have after I'm retired or gone. So, it's something that's going to be there long term.
Now, the big change for Indian, and they were the first American company building motorcycles, correct?
Correct.
I think it was in 1901, is that right?
1901 they were founded, yeah.
And they went through some transitions over the years, and then Polaris acquired them, is that right?
Yeah, Polaris acquired the brand 2011, I think, and then started designing their own. But, the history of Indian has been start and stop really since 1953. The original company, founded in 1901, was very, very, very successful, really until World War II. World War II, Indian had some challenges during that. 100% of Indian's production went to the war effort, primarily to Allied troops. And for a 4-year period, Indian wasn't supplying their dealer bodies with anything to sell, so a lot of their dealer network suffered, and most went out of business. And they also fell behind on product development, with its primary competitor, the only other American-made motorcycle manufacturer, Harley-Davidson. Harley, 50% of their production went to the war effort, so they were able to keep current, actually develop the knucklehead during that time frame, and came out of the war with a technical advantage in the product. So 53, Indian went bankrupt, and a company out of Britain purchased the brand Royal Enfield, and they rebadged some of their Royal Enfield models, and then they designed some as Indian exclusive, and had that for a number of years, really until, I'm not sure of how long that landed, somewhere in the late 60s, mid-60s, somewhere in there. And another company had them for a little while. They built, dirt bikes and youth motorcycles and things. Then a company out of Gilroy, California, probably the most well-known among, the recent Indian motorcycle buyers. Everybody refers to that as the Gilroy Indians. They were built in Gilroy, California, by a company associated with Custom Chrome. Wasn't really the high point of the Indian product, but pretty cool bikes. For the time, they were comparable to Harley in quality and technology. And an investment firm bought the brand, started building some bikes out of Kings Mountain, North Carolina. Beautiful bikes, very expensive bikes. The least expensive Indians sold at that point were about $30,000, and they didn't even have saddlebags. So the volume wasn't real high. Polaris bought the brand from them and actually produced the Kings Mountain bikes in Spirit Lake, Iowa, where they build Indians right now. And while they were designing the Polaris design bikes. And since Polaris launched their brand in 2013 as 2014 model year bikes, they have come out with so much technology and so many different models that, my quaint 100-year-old showroom is starting to feel a little pressure. But yeah, they're in just about every segment that you would expect an American manufacturer to be in, and keep surprising us every year. So it's been a lot of fun being an Indian dealer, much better than I forecasted it to be when I opened the store.
Well, Polaris infused money and technology from their other areas, from jet skis to off-road bikes or side-by-sides. I even saw today they build pontoons and other stuff too. So Polaris has got their hands in everything. So the technology is just immersive or impressive.
If it's motorsports related, Polaris is involved with it. Then you have to remember, Polaris built the Victory brand of motorcycles for 18 years. Developed a really strong following on the Victory motorcycles, but the volume never quite reached what they wanted it to. And when they acquired the Indian brand, they actually produced both brands at the same time, and Indian because of the history, the name recognition, the legendary status of the name, and the first American motorcycle company. They surpassed Victory in a very short period of time, and then Polaris discontinued the Victory brand and went solely with Indian.
Your success down there, you've done really well selling these motorcycles, and you've done really well in the country as far as sales, have you not?
Yeah, we have. We grow every year. And our market share is very strong. Our sales ranking on a national basis, at the end of last year, we were ranked number 3. That's through December. Only a couple of key markets are outselling us, so number 3 out of Oklahoma City. I'm pretty proud of my family for what they've been able to do.
And that's number 3 in the country?
Number 3 in the country, yeah.
That's pretty astounding considering our population compared to the other states.
Yeah, compared to a lot of the much bigger markets than Oklahoma City. Yeah.
So when I've been down there, I've noticed the personal touch and the family and the way you feel welcomed in the dealership. What do you think your success has been based upon?
I think a lot of that comes to my history with General Motors. I spent a lot of that time as district sales manager and district service manager and all those field positions that you see what dealers are doing things right and what dealers are doing things wrong. And I set a policy early on that we're going to focus on the customer, and I know everybody says that, but to say that and to do things like, I don't pay salespeople commission. I pay everybody in my store a salary, a couple hourly people that are there part-time, but for the most part, any full-time employees on salary. That includes sales and also service. And the reason for that is, I don't want my potential or their potential paychecks to be impacted by doing something quickly or shortcutting something or selling something that maybe somebody didn't really want or need. So, we do focus on the customer, and we have a lot of repeat business, a huge amount of repeat business. So,
how about socially? Does Indian have a culture within itself as far as riders getting together for meetings and associations and that sort of thing as well?
Yeah, we have a Indian Riders group that I think, and I'm obviously biased and don't have firsthand experience with anything else, so take it for what it's worth. But our chapter is chapter 1966, and the guys next Wednesday, they are leaving on a trip to Maine, and I think they have 12 bikes heading out to Maine. Sometimes they will go on trips to Glacier, and they plan these things out months in ahead of time. And a lot of times the rides are just, we go to Mount Scott and, stop in Medicine Park and, just short, day trips in the state. But some of the big ones are amazing. And we've had back to back year after year. This riders group is very committed. They record their rides and they do fun videos with them, and so we do have a pretty amazing group for our riders group.
So when a customer's coming in and they're trying to compare your bikes versus the competitor Harley-Davidson, we're going to exclude the imports for now. What are the differences that you can show them regarding the bikes and technology of the Indian versus the competitor?
That varies by, from model to model, but as a general rule, the Indians are much higher content, much more usable content, things like electric saddlebag locks on most of the baggers or touring bikes. Most of them have, anything with a fairing has electronically adjustable windshields. The suspension systems on Indians are head and shoulders above the competition. Just stock. There's no upgrades needed. And then you get into a little bit more technical things, like the design of the Indians is really meant for durability, comfort, and ease of use. For example, the engines on their touring and baggers, the big bikes, the heavyweight bikes, are stressed member part of the frames. That design allows them to build a very rigid platform, which you can fine-tune the suspension for, and you really feel it. But probably more importantly, the center of gravity of Indians is much lower than Harley Davidson, so the lift-up weight is better. The transitioning from, especially at slow speeds, very easy transitioning from side to side, turning left and right. So there's a lot of things I can keep going. I know that isn't what our intent was here, but obviously I've had those conversations many times, and they're fun.
Well, you have them. You have Harley in your inventory in the used market, so you've been able to ride them over the years as well. So you've been able to compare them both.
Well, you got to remember, Ted, I'm from Wisconsin, so I've owned a lot of Harley Davidsons. I rode my Street Glide to Sturgis to decide if I was going to open this store. And the first, I did a demo ride the day after they launched them, and my reaction was, "Oh, these will be easy to sell." So I did it.
Now, what about aftermarket? Because a lot of us that ride motorcycles, when we get it, we see it as a canvas that we're going to change right away.
Right.
How about the aftermarket for the Indian versus the other competitor? Is it there as far as exhaust and handlebars and all that kind of stuff?
Exhaust and handlebars, that stuff's kind of a given. Most every company that does aftermarket does them for Indians, wheels and rotors and exhaust and the seats and all kinds of stuff. But I will say there is much less than there is with Harley Davidson. As time goes on, every year the book gets a little bit thicker. But Indian has a pretty good selection of accessories, more usable accessories, not as customizable, but it's good and getting better.
The one you've got parked outside, is that your favorite?
I'm riding an Indian Challenger, and he knows it is. We talked about it when I got here. It's the best bike I've ever rode. I absolutely love the Indian Challenger. It corners, it's fast, it's comfortable, it blocks the wind. It just does everything exactly right.
You let me ride one you don't even remember. I was helping you unload from a Jeff Williams show, and I rode one to your trailer
That's
one
right.
time. But I've not put any miles on the Challenger.
Well,
So
that wouldn't be a test drive, Ted.
No, that was from the Civic Center or wherever we were at the fairgrounds to your trailer. I was trying to help you load up.
Yeah, I appreciate the help.
Well, I get to ride a motorcycle.
Can't believe you didn't buy a bike from that test drive.
Yeah, exactly. Well, it didn't put any miles on it. So what would I find when I rode a Challenger? It's fixed fairing.
Fixed fairing,
which is what I'm used to.
Yeah.
So what would I like about the Challenger?
Yeah, the powertrain is absolutely amazing. It's got a what Indian calls a Power Plus motor, a name they've taken out of the past. It puts out 122 horsepower and 128 foot-pounds of torque without an air cleaner, without an exhaust, without anything. And it builds horsepower all the way up to redline. It's water-cooled, not just cooling the heads. It's fully jacketed water-cooled motor, so you don't have excess heat coming at you that you tend to get with air-cooled as you get the engines bigger and bigger. So, and it handles like a dream. It's got inverted front forks, a large diameter, I think 305 millimeter dual disc Brembos up front. Hydraulically adjustable rear suspension. It's if you haven't ridden one, take one for a ride.
I've ridden your Scouts, your Chieftains, I think your Chiefs. I've not ridden the new is it Sport Chief?
Yeah.
And I've not ridden the Challenger, so I think I need to go take out the Challenger for a ride.
You absolutely need to take the Challenger for a ride, and the new Chief lineup has been selling real well. Initially, in 2014 model year, they were on the touring chassis. Now they've come in with more of a mid-size Dyna Softail size bike, and multiple different models. Everything from a touring style with bags and windshields and two-up seats to inverted forks and dual discs and sport fairing and kind of West Coast style risers. It's quite a few different models with the new Chief.
When we were talking about doing this, I asked you about Sturgis, and you made a funny comment to me that you really don't care for Sturgis at the event itself, but you still go every year. So what attracts you to Sturgis?
I don't know. The guys I go with keep buying bikes from me, and then I feel like I get. No, I'm kidding. I like going to Sturgis. I don't like the crowds. I don't like the let's go through downtown Sturgis. One bike length at a time. I love riding the Black Hills. That's why I go to Sturgis, because I like the rides, and I prefer to do it the week before Sturgis, where you have a little bit of room to stretch the bikes out a little bit. It just gets too crowded, and it's going to be more crowded next year. It's the 85th anniversary.
Well, and I called you about doing this last week, and you were still on the road. You were in Colorado.
Well, that was absolutely the best motorcycle trip I've ever been on. I got to give my bud some credit on planning that. But we went the week before Sturgis, spent the week up there, did all the Black Hills riding, and then we spent a week riding, Beartooth Pass and Yellowstone and Grand Teton. I mean, we did all over the Rocky Mountains, spent a week out there, and beautiful riding, from 11,000 some feet to, down to the, plains. So it was fun.
What's your favorite run in Sturgis, in the Black Hills?
Oh, I like going out to Wyoming, the Devil's Tower area, and it's for the same reasons. Custer is always very busy. You get out in Wyoming, you can open them up a little bit and have some fun.
Those are long
sweeping turns. Yeah.
You can build up some speed.
Yeah.
Cruise.
Yeah.
And the pack gets thinned out there. You can ride.
Right, exactly. You're not waiting for people, or you don't have people waiting for you. It's just you can kind of go at your own pace, aggressive or not.
We always stop at the little town. I think it's called Hewlett, something like that.
Hewlett's fun.
That's
a
lunch place on the way out there.
Stop, get something to eat, and have a beer. Yeah.
And then you do the loop back, and then come back through town and get on the highway and head back.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
You need to try the Buffalo Jump restaurant next time. Have you been there? It's right when you come off the road to Devil's Tower.
No, I haven't.
It's right off the highway. It's a really good steakhouse. All right, so another topic I want to talk to you about, and I've been fascinated by it, but I don't know a lot about it, is this bagger racing going on right now between Harley and Indian. And I know it's done by Moto America.
Yeah.
Are you following that pretty closely too?
Yeah, I am. What a fun thing to do. It sounds like something guys got together at the bar and wrote an idea down on a cocktail napkin. Let's go race the baggers out at Laguna Seca or Road America. But Indian and Harley are taking this pretty darn seriously. Right now, Indian has 2 entries, factory entries. And Harley has 2 factory entries, plus they have Vance and Hines has 2 entries, and Saddleman's has some. So, it's kind of a little bit skewed towards Harley in the numbers, but as far as the racing goes, it's coming down to the end of the season. I think there's 4 races left for this season's King of the Baggers. Harley's leading by, I believe, 13 or 14 points, which could have been the other way around had they not red flagged that last race.
I didn't see the race. But I heard about it. It had something to do with a crash and the guy off.
Yeah. Well, I guess you got to clean the debris off the track before you can race on it. But thankfully the rider was okay. But yeah, it's fun, and everybody's wearing their loyalty on their sleeves, at these races, the Indian guys, the Harley guys, and everybody's having fun. They're racing 600-pound bikes, and they're pushing over 180 horsepower, and like Daytona, going over 180 miles an hour. So how can't that be fun?
Will they ever open it up to the Europeans, to the BMWs and the Ducatis, you think, or is it going to still be an American thing?
No.
It's an American thing.
But it's an American thing.
It's an ego thing.
Yeah, no, this is Indian and Harley. They weren't at the restaurant with the cocktail napkin.
They weren't invited. Now, are you still following flat tracking? Because the last time I saw you in a race, it was here in town at the Remington Park.
Right.
It's been a couple years ago.
Yeah, I actually sponsoring a young man this year named Chad Coase. I've sponsored him before. And Indian has dominated flat track racing, since they came out with the FTR 750, which is a purpose-built race bike. You know, throughout those 6 years, I think it's been, AFT has tried to rein in the dominance of that Indian FTR, and they've slowed it up. You know, they added restrictor plates to the Indian. They let, you know, some of the competition and more production-based machines run bigger displacements. They've added some weight. They say no crankshaft weights. But Indian just keeps winning. So for the 2025 year, no more Indians, or at least not the FTR 750. You know, they actually have announced that they've decided that that isn't good to have such a dominant machine out there. So,
well, you saw the bagger racing, right?
So we're going bagger racing.
Now, is there a channel you can watch it on? Like I watch MotoGP, so I pay for a subscription to watch MotoGP. Do you have the same thing for Moto America?
There is. I can't tell you what it is, though. I have it at home. I get them all. It records it. I'm not sure what channel it's on, though.
My problem is spoiler alerts. I don't want to see the results of the race until I've seen it.
Yeah.
So do you have a way to do that so you don't see the outcome?
In today's world, there's no way not to see it. You know, how do you not look at it when you're scrolling through YouTube?
My races are Saturday and Sunday, so I make sure I don't get on social media until I watch the race. What is the future of the motorcycle world? Like, I've seen some goofy things with, you know, BMW experimenting with bikes that ride themselves, that are almost like the autopilot type things. You know, we've got people delving into electric bikes. There's still some battery issues as far as weight and balance and all that kind of stuff. Where do you think Indian's going to go next with their next stage of motorcycles, with what's going on in the world today?
Man, that's some crystal ball gazing right there. You know, I guess.
I'm saying that everybody's got an electric bike out now. They spin one out, they try one. There's even some electric dirt bikes out there now. So will Indian go there?
Indian has. Well, let me correct that. Polaris has had an Indian bike that they had out. They sold it through their Victory brand before they canceled that brand, and it was not very successful. So Polaris is capable of it. I think they're probably taking a let's see where this goes approach before they, you know, invest any additional dollars into it. I don't know that electric bikes is the answer for everybody. I think that there would be, you know, a fair amount of interest in it in urban areas, you know, where people are using them to commute, where people are, you know, using them to, you know, just, you know, go to local things. But, you know, I don't see myself getting on an electric motorcycle the way I ride and you know, traveling to Sturgis or traveling to Wisconsin or Key West. You know, I mean, I just don't see that at this point.
Where's your next bike trip?
I don't know. I've been looking at the King of the Baggers race coming up at Circuit of the Americas in September.
That's not a far ride.
That's close. I did it last year. I think it was 112 degrees, so it was hot. And then the 31st of August and the 1st of September, the Springfield Mile for flat track racing. So I think I'm going to go to that. If you haven't been to the Springfield Mile, it's a fast track. You know, the lead changes many times. It's a fun flat track race to go to.
What about Bikes and Blues?
Never been.
That's just a few hours away.
Yeah, I know. I've ridden in Arkansas many times. I've just never gone to the rally. Remember the crowds? I would just assume nobody be around.
Going off season?
Yeah.
I want to play something I call rapid fire rounds. What is your favorite ride you ever ride? Is there a route you like to ride regularly?
Oh, in Oklahoma.
Yeah.
That's a good question.
Rapid's not working really fast.
Rapid thoughts. I actually like to ride new rides a lot. You know, Talamina and heading down to the east side of the state is probably my favorite place to ride. You know, down in that area, but it really goes from there all the way up to the northern side of the state, where you're getting into some of the mountains and the hills, and you know, crossing over into Arkansas or maybe even Missouri a little bit.
What bike do you not have you wish you still had?
That's actually a. I wish I had every bike I've ever had. But the one that comes to mind was, and I can't even quite remember the year. I think it was a 1973, might have been 74, Honda 754 K model. It was custom painted. It was cool. I thought, I was a teenager. I thought, this is the biggest bike I'll ever get. Size, motor size wise, and now we're almost 1900 cc's.
Now, do you do dinner rides anywhere around town or around the state? To Ken's, to Okarche, to Wellston? Where do you?
That's if my wife rides with me, we're either going on a multi-state ride or just going out to dinner on
So
the
do you
motorcycle.
ride to it very often?
A couple times a month, yeah.
Well, I want to thank you for being here today. It's kind of fun just visiting and catching up. I admire you from a distance of what you've done at the shop down there. I like the way it's formed over the years and how it's gotten to be. It's just a beautiful place, and it's a cool place just to go visit. And I've gone to see you many times after court in the mornings and drop in.
Yeah.
I call it a toy stores where you.
Yeah, that's what it. I've been going to motorcycle shops since I was 10 on my bicycle. Wow, look at this. Yeah.
What's your website?
www.Indian Motorcycles of Oklahoma.com.
So if you guys are interested in a motorcycle, new or used, you need to go check out Scott and his inventory. You'll get treated like family down there. They have a relationship with every customer. I think you seem to know most of the customers when I go there and have a relationship with about everybody that comes in. So if you're interested in a motorcycle, new or used, give Scott a shout out. I hope you've enjoyed the show. This is Ted Leslie with Let Out the Clutch.